Hi there, we are live. I apologize, we're a little late because I'm just having some trouble with the computer. I don't know why it was just saying, I don't want to work. I don't want to work. We're up and live. Voila, hola, hola. Hi there, everybody. Well, let's see what's going on. We are a couple minutes late because of well, I was also doing, I sent some letters for students. I got a couple of letters that I had to send to some schools for some students. And I have been, we start at 5 here, Eastern, in Central European time, which is 11 US. It's just a little bit, I had some tech issues, a little slowness in the computer. We'll see how things going. I poke somebody. I sent something out October, the review of Baton's book on Machiavelli. The editor kind of got mad at the first review was kind of problematic because I wrote the original review kind of like showing the insights on Machiavelli. Okay, the first review of the Baton's book on Machiavelli that he wrote like in almost a decade ago. But, I focused on the very good insights that Philip Baton did on Machiavelli. Now, the reviewer criticized, you're saying he's too, and rightfully criticized that I didn't highlight the way I paid more attention to the insights that Baton brought to Machiavelli's, and didn't highlight Baton's objections. The editor also was a bit of a prick in this sense. He just got his little high superiority problem. And I said, listen, there was a problem. There was a problem with some editing. And I said, okay, then edit, but then at the same time, he didn't want to give it any substantive editing. He tried to edit it, and it was, his edit was, didn't help. Actually, when I looked at it, it made it kind of worse. Because he just kind of edited the first paragraph and two, and he just did. He added extenuating information that wasn't really that useful to anything, and changed the tone a little bit. That actually, in my opinion, it worked. Okay, maybe it was his tone, but the online editor hated it. The online editing thing. I don't necessarily like the online editing, but if the online editing flags it usually means it's something really wrong. Okay, so it flagged his edit. So I was like, okay, what's going on here? Why is the AI? Why is the AI? So I thought about this, and I said, listen, I'm going to rewrite the damn. I'm going to go. I have to rewrite this. I spent like basically 6 hours rewriting it. No, this is like October 7th, October 5th, the weekend of that. Okay, back in October. I sent the review, but then he didn't respond. He kind of snotty said, when I told him about this, I said, listen, you don't like it. You want me to rewrite it? Okay, great. I will rewrite it. I'm going to rewrite it completely. I'm going to send you something. He said, well, don't promise something you can't deliver. And that kind of snotty answer, which honestly, he says he liked it, he wanted it, but then he didn't. He said, oh, but you need to delay this more. And then he said he'd send the edit back. When he sent the edit back, it wasn't really a good useful edit. When I tried correcting it to fit his demands, he needed it shortened a little bit, and also he needed it to address things. I did it, but I wasn't happy with it, and I didn't feel it really dealt with it. And I said, listen, I'm going to send you a completely corrected something new. Well, you should have done that in the first place. That kind of attitude, that kind of snotty attitude, which pisses me off. But when I sent it to him, he never replied. See, I hate that. If he's not going to like it, he should say, "I don't like this." I was very strict. I kept every section, every theme. I kept my thematic themes that I dealt with the original paper, but I then limited myself to 2 paragraphs, no more. So I would stay within the word limit he was looking for, but I wanted to cover the themes. I made sure that was fair in that sense. I did it. I wrote it, and this one actually stressed more. This version stressed more the ways that Baton differed from Machiavelli. And maybe here I might have done less justice to Machiavelli than Baton does. But I think that's the problem. That may be the issue. But no, I thought it was important to highlight. He insisted on the difference, and I wanted to give him the difference. Okay, so I'm looking at, but he didn't say anything. So I said, okay, I'll wait. I said, did you get it? Silence. Did you get it? Silence. So I left it quiet, and this week I need to know. Is he going to just throw it? If he's going to waste it, then I might work on it some and put it someplace else because I think it's a good review. So I'm kind of like really. I was hoping to get a published review in a political science journal, even if it's a low point. It's only if it's worth miserable 20 points. It would be worth getting something, getting this review out because I think it's a good review and people should know about Baton's book on Machiavelli. It's a good book. It does understand some things. They published my review of the whole series. It's at Gogolin View. You can find it on Gogolin View. I'll be honest. My comments on the 4th volume are a little. See, the funny thing is, if you look at this, I'll show you guys. This is shocking. Don't tell me it's missing. No. Where is it? I have the 3. Oh, 3 is someplace else. What's 3? Oh God, I'm gonna get mad at myself. I have 1, 2, 1, 2. In many ways, volume 4 is like bigger than 1, 2, 3. Why? It's not here. I thought I had it here. So here's the religion. This is the earlier book. That's the Kojia book. I don't know where I put it, so it's going to be driving me a little bit crazy. It's over there, probably. I don't want to get up. I don't want to get up and show my fat ass. So, so that was kind of like the other thing I got done this week was the review for Egalitarian Envy that I sent to the European Conservative. I'm still waiting for the Polish journal Politeia to release the volume issue. My Aristotle. This week I got official notice about my paper for the Midwest. I'm going to be going to the Midwest. I'm going to be going to the Midwest in Chicago this year and do my paper on preserving regimes. Yay! I have a draft of that paper ready to go. So I'll spend probably in March. I'll spend January, February, some time on that, getting that in better shape to be able to go. Hold on. So that I was gonna do okay. This past week was a fuck job. I mean, I'll be honest with you guys. Everything went wrong. My wife's mother is gonna be with us. So this is going to be life is going to be a little more complicated in that sense, claustrophobic, because her health, she's losing her memories, she's, getting to the stage where she can't, I'm getting that age too. So, getting to the stage of not taking her drugs properly. And my wife is really worried about that. And this is, given our circumstances, it's, we have someplace that she can stay with us. We can't, I mean, the real sad thing was that she would have to go we don't have a big enough apartment. She can't, what happens is she's using my wife's office upstairs has been turned, it has a nice bed. Okay. It has a nice couch bed. It's a bed that she uses as a couch. So she has a comfortable bed. And she basically turned her office into kind of my place so my mother-in-law can have a sleep. And it has a bathroom in it, and they can they have a closet that they're going to make a little teeny kind of quasi kitchenette there for her. So that's where we're going to be spending some money. We're going to be spending a little bit of money on like a little refrigerator and and that. So that's going to be the little bit of I don't mind that. I'm not going to complain. It would be nice like this. But otherwise, my wife would have to go live with her, and that would be hell. I mean, that would be, I can't go. I have to work in Warsaw. I have to teach my classes, and I ain't going to go on a train, 3 hours on a train, or have her drive me 3 hours and then train. That's not going to work. And I'm not going. I haven't driven a car since 2000. I mean, my American license was lost. Okay, and I never got it. I was never. The whole story about why that didn't get renewed is an example of clusterfuckery and bureaucracy and the uniqueness of, the Americans wanted a notary public. They wanted the doctor to put a notarize on the doctor thing. Well, that's not easy to do in Poland because notaries are court officials. It's a different concept. Or in America, every doctor is a notary. So therefore, the secretary is a notary, and they would do that. Here, it's a big legal, to be a notary, you have to go to school, and you have to get a certification. And the certification it's a court. It is a agent of the court. So the notary in the European Roman law model is completely different than the common law model of a notary in that sense. Where the notary is simply just any official who recognizes that the signature is, a notary in America just notarizes the signature. The notary in the European court system is much different. The fact that that doctors are not notaries here made getting a notarized eye exam that's required for a license renewal. I did it. I paid a shitload of money to do it, only for it to get lost in the mail. And that all happened in 2000, and I just gave up. I said no. And then when I went back into America, 2004, you had a 3-week waiting list to go sit and to go retake a license and then they moved it from Warwick to Providence. So I remember that. So I just, after 2004, I said, hell. And then we went to America for a month. Ivana, there we got married in America. That was 2000, 10 years. So, yeah, okay. So it's like 2000. No, 7 or 8. That was the 4 years before that. So it was 2016. No, 2016, 18, so 17. Yeah. 18. I'm trying to think of, let's do the math in my head. So 2014, about the time of Ferguson happened. When Ferguson, I remember we came back in America that Ferguson happened. We got married then in America, and I shipped my books here. I had a lot of books here that I accumulated, but I shipped over like basically 10 cubic meters of books from my America. And at the time, I just gave up. I said, I'm not going to do it, because it was we were there a month, and even then, trying to organize, I'd have to take everything over again. They would want me to be there a month and a half, be able to, I'd have to take the test and then take the driving test over again. So it's like, screw it. So I don't drive. My wife drives. Even go to America, she drives. She has a European license, but she can get the international license, and that's where she can drive. I am just like this. So this idea, so her mother's staying with us now. We'll go to her house for Christmas, her apartment on South for Christmas, because her apartment is better, because the kitchen is better. Our kitchen is kind of crappy, honestly. Her mother's kitchen is much better. It's a real kitchen. So she wants to be able to Polish Vigilia, which is Polish Vigilia is a form of sadomasochism to the Polish family, in that sense, of how they, get everything, all the cooking and the things like this. And my wife said, I said, why don't you stay up here? And she goes, no, we're not staying here. Our kitchen's horrible. It's impossible to do Vigilia here. So we're going to be going there for like 1 a week. I only hope 1 a week, because I can't, I just really don't like doing anything down there, because, I have to say that at least I'm happy that her mother's sleeping better up here than she was sleeping down at her own house. So she's been able to not sleep without taking the sleeping drug. So that's been good. But it's difficult. This has been a difficult time. And I am going to the Inquisition at school, because next Friday, instead of having a real meeting, they're going to be, they reviewed, last year we had the Christ, they failed my review. And I challenged it legally. I won the review process. I won that. In fact, the rector thing agreed to resubmit to me. I would have, if they didn't do that, I was going to sue them. We were going to sue them, and we had a very good court case. We would have won in the court case, and that would have been disastrous for the university. So therefore, that is, I was just like saying, no, I'm not going to be, you want to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to be doing it. Like, I'm going to fight this. I think this is wrong. This was a wrong decision. I can take criticism, but just not, I don't deserve that failure. It doesn't mean you're failed right away. It only means that it's the first step of them trying to get rid of you. But they don't really want to get rid of me. They're, the institute director is kind of embarrassed this whole thing happened, and it's because of the immaturity and the amateur quality of the colleagues reviewing this. So they're going to have an online meeting where I get to talk about things, and that's going to be Friday, and I have to be I can't do it at the office, because the office computer is crappy. It has no signal strength. It has no real good strength. I'd have to come here and do it. So therefore, I will maybe, and it's going to be, I might be late next week. So please, if I'm late, I will be here at if I'm not available at 5, it'll be 5:15, 5:20 at the latest. We're supposed to be meeting at 4 something. I can be available at 4. I'm going to email them just saying, listen, I'm going to be available from 4 onwards. So when is that? I'd hope you do this quickly. I'm going to just be straightforward and then do just say, listen, what do you want to talk about? You're going to ask me about my teaching? No. If that little colleague opens her mouth, I'm going to say, well, yeah, the student evaluations are negative, but most of the students don't want to study these things. Oh, I said, listen, they want to study. I can't say they want to masturbate. They want to teach comic books and silly stuff. I'm teaching substantive material, substantive. And I will fight her if she wants to say, well, oh yeah, you're doing substantive? I'm sorry, little missy, you're just, I know the reality of where you got your degree in the International Relations Department. Political marketing, intercultural marketing with real material. What kind of modeling that I would love to read her dissertation and just shred it like the piece of toilet paper it really is. She has not really done any real work. It's about Latin American Soccer Association stuff. Okay, so it's kind of funny, laughable in a sense. There's a laughability here in this sense. That she was the one. This junior scholar was reviewing me. I mean, there's and making argument. Oh, I'm not doing enough for my advanced scholar, my research and things like this. This is my. It's been like this for a couple of days. I have been stressed out about this, and then somebody told me something they shouldn't have told me about what was happening. About the same people were trying to do the same thing. They went to certain people to get some information, and they're doing the same thing. So I'm going to just chop saying, listen, this is nonsense. It's hearsay. You base this on, you try to make a claim on that you have to look at the people. You should be looking at the substantive reviews of the colleagues. There was, even if there's a claim of that, the director would have been required to, if there was a real complaint, there would have been, since this was only just a thing like this, no formal complaint was made. Just because people want to say stuff on things, but if it's real, they would complain. If it was really bad, they would have complained. They could have complained, and they would have had it. And the idea that they had they wouldn't have had a favorable respect. My department is very left wing, so therefore they would have had a favorable respect if it was real. Okay, so no, this is just the other person when they heard about this, they laughed. Everyone else laughed, even some. That they laughed at this, saying this was ridiculous. So that's what I have been doing. So because of bullshit like this, I have not did my pre-recordings yet for my Machiavelli stuff. I'll get most of I'll start doing some recordings in the next couple of weeks. The first 2 weeks of December. I just start recording. I know I have to start doing some recordings to get this done. I know I'm going to be doing something with my internet about the pages. I'm going to get this very done. I have to get something done about the 2 website things I need to do. The Aristotle Politics, I've discovered that my outline for Aristotle Politics, I can't turn it into book. Ebook. Not as anyone's buying my little Polis ebook. The little Polis ebook, I think it's like $6, $5. I think it's almost really there. It's up at it's a good little teeny little book. It's not ridiculously priced. I think it's been sold like 2 or 3 copies only. I was like, it's a nice though. Well, whatever. I should get more attention to this. I don't really know what to say. It's there. Hi there, ho there, low there. I'll be doing the Aristotle's, my outline of Aristotle, which we've done it. It's great. It's complete. I'm going to turn it into a website. We're going to interface the lectures into the website. I learned how to do that. I got most of the coding for everyone, except the problem was I couldn't do some coding until the course is released. Because I scheduled everything to be released, I can't access the coding for the embedded stuff until it's released. So I have to go wait until everything is released. I should go check. Some are already released from the time I started. I'll add in the new stuff that that has been to that, and we will start uploading a website. I have to figure out where. I can't use my tripod. I found my tripod. I went to sign into it. I signed into it, and I was just basically told, well, you have no account. This thing, oh, yeah, thank you, you're back, but there's no pages. What? No pages. Check my website. It's there, but no way. So, and they want me to pay like a crap load of money for a system I don't really want for to access the pages I've had from them for 20, 30 years. And the pages are still kind of there. The website's still there. In fact, as you know, when that horrible neocon / thing when they attacked me, I wrote something for American Greatness on gratitude, right? 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and they attacked my. They pointed to my website from the 1990s where I was talking about my mentors and those people. And they said, "Oh, he's a neo-Confederate. Oh, he supports neo-Confederacy." And I go, "Okay, this is something I wrote, as a graduate student, just finishing the grad program, newly minted PhD. We were experimenting on these things. Yes, the internet is forever, but I didn't say anything horrible. I just simply said, listen, the people who supported the Confederate heritage, I think do I support the Confederacy? No, I'm not. I can't. I'm not a Southerner. I'm not a Southerner. Do I agree that I'm a critic of Lincoln? Yes. I think the way the Civil War was done and the pursuing destruction of the old republic was bad. Do I think slavery is a positive? No, it was a problem. It wasn't necessarily a positive good, but it wasn't something that was, this idea that slavery was a universal phenomenon, and Scripture does not condemn it. So anyone who told me, the Bible condemns, no, I'm sorry, the Bible does not condemn slavery. It condemns abuse by masters of slaves, but not slavery. In fact, this is this idea that but then that's bad. No, it's just reality. It was a common human institution. Yes, Aristotle himself will say that slavery is unjust in a perfect justice sense, and only just slavery would be the just of the natural slave. But the problem is most slaves are not natural slaves. And a natural slave would not be a useful slave, okay? It would be mostly a useless slave. It would be someone you'd have to care for. It's like a mental retarded person, a natural slave. Someone who cannot even do anything. It'd be barely vegetative in that sense, right? Very able to even feed itself, know how to do anything. It would not be something fit for slavery in that sense. The natural slave is therefore the whole discussion, this is why it's a whole argument. Does Aristotle support slavery? Yes, he says, well, you can't escape with it. You'll need it until machines can do things. I mean, he highlights the possibility of technology, but until that happens, this is book one, Politics 1, chapter 4 and chapter 5, right? This is that whole book 1, chapter 4 and chapter 5, about the question of natural slavery and the limits to natural slavery. But this is not, yes, it's unjust, but you might, even most society, unjust things may be necessary for a community. So, Mr. Greenglass says hello, and hi there, Mr. Greenglass. I'm glad you could join us again. So I'm kind of waiting for what to do about this. I have to go. I think I'll spend some time this weekend checking if I can upload the new, the information from because I think it was early November that I stopped, or end of October. So I think I did it at a certain time, and then I had stopped because we haven't really got through all the things. I think the time it's enough that I've got maybe two more books the data for it can be added into the master file I have, and then I just have to take this and do that. That's going to be some editing. The Federalist paper thing I can do. I just need to talk to somebody about this. I have to file for a grant That's going to be a big thing. I have to go file for the grant. I'll do this weekend. I think I'm going to do this weekend. I have some time this weekend. I'm going to file for the grant and do something because I need to go do that for the going to the American conference. I asked for them to buy my airline ticket from Warsaw to Chicago, and then I'm going to also book my reservation at the Hilton Hotel at which the Palmer House Hotel in Chicago where we're staying at the conference. I better hurry up before all the apartments are gone. And that's that. That's one of my little things I'm doing. I am working on something. I haven't done the paper on form yet, on political form, which I need to fix the form of where I deal with the social versus the political form, this interconnection of the two. I'm doing the polis sedate versus the two versions of social force, community and society, and this connection between the two, and that there's this historicist assumption that the ancient world is where the polis, and the polis is the community, and the modern world is where the society is, and the state and society. This is kind of the historicist, but it is with the moderns ideas that know that the difference here is that the realm of the polis is the realm of the what we call the intermediary local community, local politics, our local political reality, and therefore you need to have a system. I think this could be an argument for a systemic structure of subsidiarity. In other words, that you need to have. In other words, you can't have unitary politics, because unitary politics would insist that everything's either a communitas or a communitas or societas, or in Latin or in English it would be either a German, it would be Gemeinschaft, Gesellschaft, right? It has to be totally this, and it's not. That it's both in that sense. The larger structure is the Gesellschaft, or the society. This is going to be the larger entity, society, in that sense. It's based on rational and self-interested models. This is the modern larger structure, and that the ancient, more traditional and intimate, natural one is the community, and that the problem is if you go either or. If you force an either or binary, then what happens is you have a disconnect. Therefore, this is why you cannot have a unitary state structure. The unitary state structure will say, okay, then everything is mass society, and then you this creates the problems that Tocqueville talks about, and Tocqueville's and Durkheim talks about in that. So that's going to be I'm finishing that paper up. That's almost done. I just have to go get. That paper is almost done. That paper's been almost done for about a month and a half. I have the corrections in it. I didn't do it. I should spend some time with, doing some things and making sure that the corrections, some things are added in the notes. And I'm going to put them in there and sit down, edit, type the corrections in, and then go print out a new copy and then add the new comments. I think that's what's going to happen. I think that is what I have to do in that sense to get that paper done. And that will I'll send out to the journal in probably mid-December before Christmas, to the Polish journal, I think. I've not heard back from the Polish colleague about my paper about Polish political science. They wanted me to publish it, but I know I need footnotes. And I don't really know I know I would need footnotes. They said, oh, no, we can publish it without it. And I said, well, really? No, it would need footnotes. And I don't really have I know this stuff, but it would need evidence to support it. And I don't really know the evidence. My Polish isn't good enough to go in the weeds and get the actual article. So I just know what happened. I was here and I saw it. I watched it. And I saw the effects in that sense. So and I knew the history of this sense. So I think it's a good. I think they're right that it's a good piece and it should be published. But I don't know. I really, really, really am worried about something about that. I would like to do it. They said publish it as it is. I'm saying, no, I would like, and I'm going to cooperate. I said, listen, if you help me with the notes, I'll share the authorship with you. That's how I was trying to get this done. And I'm doing the same with something I wrote on sports that I'm trying to encourage about civic education, student athletics and civic education that I've kind of written. And I'm trying to get my friend, Steve Haywood, to kind of think about working with me a little bit on that piece and publishing it like at something like AEI based journal, that it will be that certain people will take it seriously as a question of civic education. I think this is that we have to defend civic education is also sports is a form of civic education in a sense. Sportsmanship is a form of civic education. It is very much a civic education in that sense, the team sports. And that therefore this actually is a kind of defense of the basis by which political behavior and team behavior and creating leadership, actual leaderships, that everyone talk about statecraft. I hate to say it. I'm going to quote not Lord Nelson, but what's his name? The Duke of Wellington. I forget. I know his name. It's Webley. But he's Duke of Wellington said the hero. The leadership of one Napoleon. In other words, the victory at Waterloo was won on this playing fields of Eton, right? In other words, the team sports and that the leaders and people who played in the sports learned how to cooperate. And and that's a very good paper in that sense. I think I'm going to really like writing about that. I think that is kind of something that I would like to do. Now, I want to talk to Mr. Greenglass, Mr. Greenglass. Is he here still? I don't know if he's not here still. So I hope he's doing okay. Where is my stupid thing? There it is. It's stupid. It's just that I'm just having a big grumpy day. Last week, okay, I didn't do something right. Hold on. Did I do something? No, I didn't do something. Hold on. My friend, Mr. Corlitz, James, dealt with something, and I'm kicking myself for not doing something. He sent me 5 days ago. He sent me a nice piece about integralism, a comment right after my YouTube thing. I will talk about this. He says about integralism. I talk about integralism. It never sounded like it was a serious political project for the U.S. Okay, at least as far as I could tell. I agree with this. I heard that BAP was right, and that Shohab Arimini, Bronjade pervert. I don't know. I mean, I forget his real name. He's the Romanian graduate student with the Yale Strauss. I was right, and that Shoaib Arami was indeed receiving subsidies from Soros people for his compact. Even if the U.S. had been a majority Catholic country, and Sorabi, this is Sorabi's book. It's actually a good book. in terms of the problem of the private tyranny and that stuff, but the integralism is the problem where I kind of, it's like, well, I have doubts about that, okay? So I'm not Catholic in that sense. He said even that U.S. had been a Catholic, majority Catholic country and had a long Catholic tradition, Gauchet and others seem to be correct that as a political force, Catholicism is mostly gone. Again, that's why Gauchet's own history about that. And the first 3 volumes, he talks about the diminishing power of religion. And I think this is that it's no longer, in other words, the older regime, the ancient regime, Catholicism is, the modern, this is what, that you have to reformulate Catholicism in terms of a liberalism, as Tocqueville tries to do. So therefore, that's even more aspect in that sense, right? This is why Gauchet is kind of a Tocquevillian. And that's why it's mostly gone. And this is why the liberalism crisis, right? An interesting book did appear a few years called Integralism, a Manual of Political Philosophy by Thomas Crennan, 2020. This is a conservative exposition of the church's own church. I can see these comments on the previous video, so go watch if you want to see the comments. But explosion of the church's political philosophy pre-Vatican II, and I think that's true. That in a lot of ways, this is the integralism is basically the anti-Vatican II position. This is why Pat Buchanan and some of the Pat Buchanan friends, Joseph Sobran and these things had this thing, and that there was this doubts about liberalism, doubts about liberal democracy. It's in pre-Vatican II, the syllabus of errors and things like that, which were very much kind of reactionary. So it's reactionary Catholic position. Now, I believe it was criticized for explaining the old teaching justifying slavery. In other words, the problem about this is people, in other words, the Kren and Filmster book was, again, part of an alt-right Catholicism, alt-right, what I call the alt-right dissident Catholicism. And therefore, this is the problem, that there's 2 types of integralism. There's the integralism of the Tocquevillian versus the integralism of the reactionary right. Now, even though I'm a reactionary right, I'm a Protestant. So maybe a Protestant cannot be an integralist in this sense. It can't be. A Protestant also cannot be necessarily, in other words, to what degree this is, I don't know. I don't want to talk about this. I mean, I do want to talk about this. This is the whole Antioch, the whole debate that's happening online now because of the so-called Antioch Declaration. That was written, basically the people around a group of basically neo-Calvinist and evangelicals among the young, very conservative group started having a debate because of Doug Williams and the people at Canon Books, who I know about them. I don't know Doug himself, but I know C.J. Wiley and Glenn Sunshine, who I worked with. Glenn Sunshine doesn't realize. Remember this? He was already tenured professor. I wasn't. I was just an adjunct. I don't think he liked me because I was brought in by a Jewish anti-Israeli Jew. That's funny. To Morton Nizvinsky. I think Mort Nizvinsky hired me after Northern, and I was teaching at Northern Eastern State Connecticut for 2 years, and I only lost that job because of the fact that they cut the general ed requirements and didn't need as many gen ed people. And then because I would have gotten a full-time job replacing the Greek professor who's going to retire in 2 years. And that the Greek professor was trying to get me to stay there and become his replacement, and that would probably been a job I would have had, but that fell through. This happened like 2007. 2007 they cut the ed. I was there from 2005 and 6. That was my teaching years. 2 years teaching, 5 and 6, maybe. Yes, 5 and 6. Those were 2 years. So 5 to 6, 6 to 7. No, end this. What is end this? Joseph 2010. End this. the integralists are very interesting. Pre-Vatican II, in the sense, I think he actually did this. He goes in that book. I think you can see after 1920, especially. Okay, yeah, this is the problem again. Teacher Avery, the non-democratic government using the sword against Satan on earth, the minions on earth. This idea of the church and the idea of the church using the state, instrument of the state, the sword. Remember, this is the modern state. In modern state, modern theory, that only the state has the exercise of the sword, in that sense, the exercise of violence, and therefore that if you're gonna use the sword against Satan's minions on earth, then the idea here is justifying or autocratic government. This is why it's kind of like, oh no. And he goes, in that book, I think you see why after 1920, especially following World War II, the church to modify its teaching. Though at Vatican II in the 1960s, the Spanish bishops, mostly appointed under Franco, were still trying to defend some of the old perspective. Yes, and I knew people I knew some of these, like Frederick Wilhelmsen. I knew Fritz Wilhelmsen. My good friend my good friend Steve Goss, who was one of he never finished his PhD because Fritz died before, and he couldn't work with the female, the anti-abortion Catholic lady who took over his position, and this wasn't going to work. So Steve, still to this very day, he's his late 60s, he's hitting on 70 soon, and he's been, still works. He has a job, and he reads his philosophy, reads his Heidegger, reads his Nietzsche, Thomas. And he was like, one of Fritz's last students. And Fritz was very much tied to these Catholics who basically under the Franco period saw this kind of Carlists, right? The Carlists. I remember the Carlist reactionaries. Now I'm not a Catholic, so I can't. I have no position on this, but the problem about this is I believe this integralism is a reactionary book. I think it was this integralism political manual. I have to go look at it. And I think this is the problem. You have to understand the conservative Catholics went down a we can say maybe neocon level. I'm not sure. This is someone like look at it. Look at the natural law people. Look at Tommy. But you can see some of this fight in the problem of, when Patrick Deneen, in both his critique of liberalism and his regime change book, he is that a kind of right-wing reaction. Now, some people accuse him of being integralist. He's post-liberal. In other words, he sees the inherent contradictions in the Lockean individualism and liberalism. In that sense, he wants to retain Catholic, and I'm not sure he's a rejection. I don't think he rejects Vatican II. He's more of a saint. But the problem with this is that he wants to distance himself from liberalism in a sense. Even though he himself is a Tocqueville scholar and was head of the Tocqueville Center at Georgetown, and then brought the Tocqueville Center with him to Notre Dame. I think this is a big problem here, in that this in a Catholic. This is the problem. Okay, let's talk about someone like one of the things that I about the Antioch Declaration that I'm kind of. In the alt, I have sympathy for much of the alt-right. I have sympathy for them in the sense of, people like, because of my background in biosocial political science, evolutionary science, and background in sociobiology. Okay, I have, I very much strongly buy this. I believe in this idea that there's going to be racial differences, and these racial differences are real, that these racial differences are natural, they're emergent evolution, right? The reality of emergent evolution, and that evolution does shape our political behavior, and that it affects our thing. In other words, and this is my Aristotelianism also is shaped by. I think this is what shapes the reason why I prefer Aristotle to Hobbes and Locke. I've never liked Locke is because this idea of this atomic free willing agents of natural rights was just it doesn't support by what evolution teaches us. Aristotle is more in agreement with Aristotle's understanding of the political is more in agreement with the biosocial of what evolutionary science teaches us about human nature, human behavior, and human activity. Okay, that's that. I mean, so therefore, that's my sympathy towards it. But this is where in fact, I even agree with someone like alternative hypothesis, alt-hype as he's called, is very hostile to the little wannabe neo-Nazis, or what is that? It was that website that everyone talks about I forget the name of the website about it's like stormtrooper and all, because we tolerate this idea that we have to the old ACLU people, we have to tolerate the Nazis. Now, I was never that favorable tolerating Nazis back in the 70s and 80s. I was never an absolute free speecher. I think there's limits to speech. But the danger here is when people, in other words, the people who should be censoring, I don't think censorship either. I think it's just certain elements of good behavior. You shouldn't, this, okay, but then you're, hey, boomer, right? Hey, boomer. I'm not a boomer. I'm a Gen Xer. I'm sorry. I'm not even a boomer. I can agree. There's criticisms of boomers, okay? But hey, boomer is not an answer. It's a childish retort that has no substantive meaning. If you're going to have a real substantive argument because someone from boomers, you have to realize that boomer is a broad term, and that just because someone is born in a boomer time doesn't mean that they reflect they may be atypical to that generation. So come on, know a little bit of statistics, know about demographics. Just not everyone's going to be your normal guy, and I'm a conservative Gen Xer, a reactionary Gen Xer in that sense. Now, why is this important? Because my sympathy towards like alt-hype and their position, and even alt-hype never tolerated the Nazis. He made fun of the Nazis. He argued the Nazis didn't really believe in IQ science. He pointed the Nazis were actually enemies of evolution, real evolution. That the Nazis in their crowd goes for pseudo crap science. But the problem with this is that this is what's right. They point to stuff like spiritualism, and this is the problem of what I don't like about and this is some of the alt-right, even though they don't go or the dissident right, they're embracing of this spiritualism. They embrace a spiritualism that is, neo-pagan. Through Nietzsche and Spengler, they want to revitalize a authentic neo-paganism as a distinct. I see Christianity was an enemy of that Christianity, except Nietzsche's position that liberalism is just secularization of Christianity. So they want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Well, I mean, this is the problem about this. Okay, I'm not willing to do that. What is the other one? Alan de Benoist's Ruins and his stuff. These are going too dark. And there was a good book recently. there's been a number of books by kind of what I call central, basically, the editor at First Things, Randy Reno's book, The Return of the Strong Gods. Then it's also there is a friend, the first thing, one of the First Thing editors who writes for them personally. I forget his name. Wrote a book about some of the neo-pagan right people, but I think he goes too far. I think they say Schmidt, and I think Schmidt is not neo-pagan. Schmidt is not this on this argument. He is not an existential. Now, someone like what is it? Oh, come on! What is the French? I don't want to get in trouble. I want to get it correctly. I'm trying to. He was a colleague. The Book on Inequality. Gobineau. That's what academic age wants to Gobineau, right? Gobineau. Gobineau's idea of race is problematic. It's bad. It's spiritualist. Same thing with what's his name, Evola. I talked about all the young people, white people say you got to read Evola. Why? When I read Evola, I see him as basically, I see him as bad, a bad spiritualist. I think he has, and I would rather turn to that book by what is it? Yerzar Pelikan's book on tradition, the Jefferson lecture that he gave, is a much better, much stronger, much more powerful book. I always would say, come on. What is this? Come on. It's like, I don't want to work. I don't really like you. Yeah. Come on. Yeah, I'm going to do it here. Dun, 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 dun. Yerzar Pelikan. 1980 Jefferson election. This is a excellent book. I've always loved this book. I remember when this came out. I'm old enough that when this came out, I remember hearing it, and there in that book, this is the book itself. This is a fantastic book. That is a much better book than Evola on tradition. Okay. Oh, but that's just boomer talk. No, it's just, if you know Pelikan, he is a serious historian about church history. He's a Slavic. He's not a white European liberal. Now he taught at Yale, but they, in the days they used to have that. He was a Protestant, yes, but then he converted to Orthodoxy. So I mean, he's knowledgeable. He's written great books on Mary and also Christ, right? So that this is not he is a conservative. He is a man of the conserving right. He's not a left liberal. He's not a liberal in this sense. Okay, but he's a cuck liberal, a cuck conservative. No, I mean, I don't mind calling the likes of Jeb Bush, these practical people like this, and even Rubio, kind of a cut conservative in these people. And they will switch sides when they're powerful. But serious scholars like this, no. I mean, I may have my problems with, John Podhoretz is nothing. The son is nothing like Norman Podhoretz, the father. Yes, Podhoretz was a neocon, old man Podhoretz, but old man Podhoretz is far more understanding than his son. His son is this never Trump whack job, but dad is no. Trump is not bad. Trump is all right. I understand Trump. He even made a joke. He says, Norman Podhoretz jokes about that, calls himself a paleo neocon, right? They're joking about this because the neocon and paleocons were supposed to be enemies of each other. He says, no. Many ways. Now, this is the whole point about Michael Anton's whole position is a kind of what we call the Straussian Jaffa'ite position, looking at the paleocon position and saying, well, they weren't wrong. I have to joke about this. I hated the term paleocon. I despise the term paleocon, but it was the term that was used. I didn't like it. I agreed with Pat Buchanan, but I thought he went too far, and I thought his Catholicism went too far. His Jew phobia. Now, I don't think he has a Jew phobia. He doesn't. But a lot of the younger people come out there, and this is why my Nick Fuentes. I sympathize with Nick Fuentes. I did. I do. But I think Nick Fuentes went down the rabbit hole a little too far. His current position now is he's made, in other words, I understood his anti-Semitism, his position on Israel. I understood that. But I understood how it turns to this. See, this is the problem with something like anti-Semitism or distrust for Israel. I have criticisms of Israel, but the danger here is that if you take it too far, it takes you down to a dark, dark place. It destroys you. And why? Because it's based on a kind of resentment or hatred. At first, it starts out as, oh no, they're liberals. They're bad Jews who are promoting liberalism, destroying things. Like Candace Owens critiqued first of the Jewish rabbi who was pushing the sex stuff. These Jews, liberal Jews, and pushing perverted sex and this stuff. Okay, and then therefore people and then you criticize that it's anti-Semitism, and then Shapiro backing. Oh, he's a good rabbi. You shouldn't do it. I can't stand the likes of a Shapiro crowd and Matt Walsh and that whole crowd makes me want to gag because they are the stereotype people of a commercial faith. Okay. Oh, but he's supposed to be very bright. Yeah. Jordan Peterson and I like Prager. Now this is the problem thing with someone like Candace Owen. And also even Kanye West went dark on the Jews because the blacks, their experience, the Jews and the blacks, and same thing in Poland. The Poles and the Jews fight for who's the victim. The Jews have to be the big victim. Number one victim, Holocaust. Or you criticize the Holocaust and their unique victimhood. So, but then what about these? I know people saying, why don't you feel sympathy for the Palestinians? I don't. The Palestinians deserve their fate in a certain way because they're stupid. They know that they're going to lose, but they choose to lose. Oh, but then isn't that the same thing as the Jews? And no, nada. The Palestinians are far worse than the Jews at their worst. The Palestinians, no Arab state wants them. None. And the West has made them even worse. The West, the liberals in the Western has empowered their worst habits. So, no, I'm not a Zionist. I think there's limits to Zionism. And my problem with people like Iazoni in his argument is that he's a hypocrite. He doesn't understand that his Israelism is a ethno-nationalism. Now, ethno-nationalism doesn't have to be exclusivist. This is the problem. And this is why I would even argue, this is why I support Yak's understanding of ethno-nationalism. And the distinction of that the distinction between civic nationalism and ethnic nationalism is a false dichotomy. At the level of once a civic, over time, a civic nationalism becomes an ethnic population. After several generations of interbreeding and intermixing and interculturalization, you become an ethnic identity. And I think this is the mix. This is why I would argue that, Hazoni's kind of, I don't want you Euro ethnic nationalists, hardcore, you guys, because you're just racist. They're anti-Jewish. Because in their idea, they're Jewish. In these European contexts, liberal Jews are the enemy that's destroying their identity. Now, does this mean we have to go wipe out the Jews? No. Are the Nazis good? No. No sane Nazis are not nationalists. I hate to say this. Nazis are not nationalists. Nazis are globalists. Nazis are globalists. They have a global identity. They have a worldwide situation. Not even, hate to say, they're not even racial supremacists. Yes, they're racial supremacists, but they're exterminationists. They're going to kill the Jews. They want to kill Jews, but they want to kill everyone else, anyone but Aryans. They were going to, if you go look at the Nazi, what the Nazis were planning to do to the Germans. In other words, even the Germans were not going to be off limits to purging. Not because of only Jewishness, but because imperfection, they're imperfectly Aryan. Only the Aryans would be allowed. And they were going to create a breeding ground in the Caucasus to regrow Aryans. Hence why they fought the stupid battle of Stalingrad, why they couldn't retreat from Stalingrad. In other words, that many of their bad political decisions, military decisions, were done in service of their pseudoscience. Okay, so let's not praise the Nazis. The Nazis are idiots. They're they're pseudoscience, not real biology, not real understandings of this. Now, that's going to go to Antioch discussion. The Antioch discussion has been raging for the past 2 weeks. Doug Wilson and those crowds. I'm a Calvinist. I was raised a Calvinist. And there's how can your Aristotelianism and your position here in science? This is, and I accept the contradiction. I've always accepted. This is what my brain. Strauss taught me something. Strauss's position on his stance about Judaism and philosophy. Philosophy and science is atheistic. As a scientist, my faith cannot base on my knowledge. So my scientific mind operates with the Aristotelian evolutionary perspective. I look at this from this way. But in my heart, in my conscience, this is Christian. But how can you live this way? How can your mind and your heart be at this divide? Isn't that destructive? And this is a thing you have to struggle with in that sense. This is what this argument is that you have to surrender one to the other. This is where you can get and then you warp one. In other words, the idea that I'm going to take, this is one of my problems with certain Christian worldview. I was not welcomed among certain Protestant sects when I was as a young student, because as a graduate student and even a post-young doctorate. The Catholics didn't trust me. The conservative Catholics didn't trust me because I was a Protestant. And the Protestants didn't trust, the evangelical Protestants didn't trust me because I liked Aristotle and evolution. And the liberals didn't like me because I was a conservative, a reactionary, and a hard right conservative, old conservative of the old school, and a Christian. Talk about being fucked by everyone, right? So I want to talk about this because I I won't sign the Antioch. I'm not a churchman. I never became. I was never. I thought about it, but nah. I just didn't have the heart to go to seminary. I'm not a churchman. I'm not a preacher, man. I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher. That's what God. That's my vocation. That's my calling. That is what I'm called to do, and I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And am I benefiting from it? No, I'm not necessarily benefiting. I have a Calvinistic conception of calling, and I'm an obligation of my calling to doing it. So I'm sympathetic to I'm theologically Calvinistic. I understand this position, but I'm also understanding that this is my rational. This would be a rational construction of my faith. But then when I'm going to talk about the political things, my faith is going to inform it, but it may inform my practical choices, but it can't inform my analysis. And my faith has to keep me from seeing the forces of evil. For there are forces of evil. There is the forces of Satan. Satan is real in the world. Let's not deny. Oh, he's cracking up. Satan. What is Satan? It is those who want to flee from God. In other words, it's not demons and these forces. There are these principalities, spirits and principalities. They exist. There are forces in nature. I even quote Hamlet. There's more in heaven and earth than is thought through the ratio. Right, that line here. The universe is very. We know so little of things. And this is why the stuff on Sean Ryan and Sean Ryan's podcast, we talk interviews. Okay, it goes too far. I don't want to go into, crackpottery, but there's good points about these things. What is spirituals? Are there ghosts? But can we leave parts of ourselves and our behavior? I mean, I can feel the dead when you go to places like downtown Warsaw where the uprising happened, in places like this. Or I can't go into a death camp. I physically get sick. You can feel the evil. Okay, you can feel the evil. You can feel good and evil presence in the universe. Our actions and our behavior leaves remnants in history. This is why I kind of like David Stark, even though he's an atheist. David talks about that how in historical facts, historical places, there is transcendence. This is that wonderful line from T.S. Eliot's Four Quartets, The Little Gidlings, about this idea of the present and the past and the future all present at our time. And at a level of quantum mechanics, that's true. So let's understand some of these things in this sense. So back to the Antioch Declaration. What is the Antioch Declaration really about? This is about, a lot of millennials woke, red-pilled or black-pilled, in other words, anti-woke, the anti-woke, the right, the alt-right, the distant right on the millennial/Gen Z, who looking to people like Bron James Pervert, Corvin Yavin, even to people like academic agent Narvini, who I kind of like and dislike. Groyper, Mr. Groyper himself, Fuentes. Fuentes is not as serious as these guys. I mean, Fuentes is a young boy who went down a very dark, he was going to be an activist. He was going to be picked up he was recruited by the Conservative Inc. And then what happened was they tried to force him down a rabbit hole. He was already shaped by his Catholicism and his kind of paleo-conservative background because of his Catholicism. And then what happened was the heavy hands of the Shapiro types and the neocon types, who then were too heavy-handed on them, and therefore this created, there's a Jewish conspiracy. The Jews are out to get me. And in his pact, a Jew and a certain thing like that group among that thing was to get him. It made his life miserable. And he tried to moderate many of the radical right, to certain ways. He wasn't a stormtrooper. I don't think he is a hardcore. No, he's no neo-Nazi. But he likes to take he goes to he knows it offends them, so he pushes it. He pushes that button, and that's the problem. This playfulness that goes too far. The problem with this is that the force, okay. There's a point where the very liberal position and the oversensitivity to the Holocaust becomes kind of a joke. This is even Seinfeld knew this. Heck, this is even what the famous Mel Brooks knew, in the producers, right? Springtime for Hitler and Germany. Winter for Poland and France, right? That, the producers, they even, the original name of the play was supposed to be Springtime for Hitler, but they can't do that. You have to change the name. So they change the name. And then after someone goes, why did you change the name? It's a good thing. It's too late. We made the movie already. It's going to be out. Okay. The remake is not as good, but the early 2000 remake was, the original one was a little better. I mean, the remake's a little. The remake is it's the gay stuff gets involved, and that's just okay. You have to ruin a good story by bringing the homosexuality, and have to fail to understand that the Nazis, a good number of the Nazis themselves were hardcore homosexuals. So that the SA was filled, and some of the SS people were filled with homosexuals, and that you could be in fact. So therefore, that's this idea the gays were targeted by Nazis. Well, no, only some gays were, yes, but but then some were in the heart and soul of the movement. The Antioch statement to me is a reasonable position critiquing against. It goes a little too far in some things. It is I think it is a restatement. If you know your own church history, Reformed church history, it's the Bremen Declaration of 1932-34, where the German churches, the anti-Nazi church of the German church, of the Lutheran church, the evangelical church, which is the Lutheran church, because they call it the in Poland, it's Augsburg. Evangelical Augsburg versus evangelical Reform. The Reform is Calvinistic, and the Augsburg is Lutheran. In Germany, it's evangelical church has both wings: the Augsburg wing, which is the Lutheran, and then the Reformed wing, which is Calvinistic. Remember that both these parts were in there. Now, this is why the movie Bonhoeffer is out there. Movie by Bonhoeffer's out there, and I was watching an interview by some critics. A critic of among these alt-right Protestant theologian kids who are very angry at the Antioch movement. Not kids; they're like in their late 20s, early 30s, that were hostile to what Doug Wilson did and made fun of. Oh, Boomer man, he's not helpful because we're attacked. You make the statement and accusing the neo-pagans and this is not. It's gatekeeping, man, and that's just right-wing cancel culture. No, nonsense. I mean, not all gatekeeping is wrong. I don't really want to be in a party of, what Buckley did in the 1950s and 60s and even the 70s was quite legitimate because, come on, some of the right wing were kind of nut jobs. Some of the right wing of that time were nut jobs. They were nut jobs. The Birch, the John Birch people. They were mostly, a lot of them, most of the rank and file were just usually uneducated, not as educated, or naive. But the leadership were nut jobs. Yes, the actual person that named it after was an innocent, a person who stood up for Christ and was persecuted by the communist Chinese. Okay, yes, that has happened. They caught, but the people who did it was, yes, okay, none. The author who did None Dare Court Treason. I like some of his works, but then some of his other works goes completely. In other words, there's truths, and then what happens is you take the truth and go down a rabbit hole. And then it ceases being truth. It goes in a different direction. This is the problem with None Dare. None Dare Cause of Treason itself, on the level of what it does, is correct. But then it goes down a rabbit hole and then goes too far in the preceding generations. Eisenhower was not a commie. And that Buckley's joke about is, no, Eisenhower's not a commie, he's a golfer. But he's a normie. He's not a commie. He's a normie. He doesn't understand that the communists are real dangerous people. So don't expect people who don't understand the communist mind and the deep method of doing this is not, but then to consider that normal people and useful idiots who get captured by this as they're part of the conspiracy. No, they're just useful idiots, or they don't fully understand how they're being played by the communists. Okay, that's the problem. This is that the normie. This is the thing. And by the way, the left uses these people on the right as a tool, and this is where I can't. What's his name? I am very sympathetic to Rutland Lynch and his little critique of Fuentes, saying that to what degree is Fuentes really not being controlled? Was he not compromised too much? And why is he being allowed? Why does the left tolerate Richard Spencer, not the social sign? I mean, young Richard Spencer. Young Richard Spencer, who then supports who? Biden and then later Harris, okay? Because they're accelerationists. Look at even Fuentes. He embraced Harris. Why? He attacked. Why? Because that Trump is not being. Now, this is the problem. What happened? Fuentes and these guys went down a certain rabbit hole, and once you go down that rabbit hole, you get radicalized more and more and more and more. The question is, Mr. Jesus guy, to what? I mean, that's why I like Doug Williams' pre-Thanksgiving little talk that he gave and his how he ended up with no quarters, this year's no quarters, November. That where he talked about that how Jesus would respond in that sense. This idea, in other words, if you're going to be driven by in other words. And actually, this is the same Oron McIntyre's critique. I saw Oron McIntyre, and he hangs out AA. Oron McIntyre is a very. I haven't got his book yet. I ordered his book, and it failed. It got canceled. My order got canceled. I can't buy it. I couldn't buy it in Europe, Britain, for some reason. Amazon wouldn't sell it to me. They wouldn't transfer it. I couldn't order it from America to ship here. It's like, oh, everyone's telling me how it's interesting. I saw him on video, and I'm saying, what is so bright about him? He's not, he goes on. He goes actively. He and AA go on live streams together. My people who follow me knows my love, my positive and negative aspects of AA. And I don't want to go. AA himself has gone down the black pill. I'm not. I don't believe in black pills. I think black pills are this is the kind of the black pill is the danger of not losing hope and losing it's succumbing to the forces of darkness. Okay. My problem with JF, I love JF, but JF goes down his his own feeling of hatred and persecution by liberals and things, and particularly Jewish-based liberals, who attacked him because of his perceptive things, led him to be perceived, leads him down. He sees the legitimate argument, well, what about the Palestinians being treated? Now, my problem is he knows nothing about the Palestinians. Anyone who spent any real time looking at the Palestinians and how their own kin, what they were, who they were, what they were Arabs. And they became Arabs that abandoned their land to let their fellow Arabs murder. The Arabs that stayed in Israel, who did not abandon them and stayed, are now citizens of Israel, and they have all the rights. They may be sick. They may not have their rights perfectly. They may not have everything perfect, and not be as have every right as they're minority in that, even though they're growing in population. But still, they are the citizens. They have rights of voting. They have political parties. They have protections. The Palestinians are those who abandon their land. I can't go see my. Well, you abandon the property so that your Jewish neighbor can be slaughtered by the invading Arab armies. Do I feel sympathy for you? No. Why should anyone that you left the thing that leave not only your Jew, okay, you don't like the Jew, but what about your fellow Arab who stayed there and did not want to abandon his house, who stayed there and did not abandon his land? He gets to stay, but you have to kill off the Jews, right? This is Hamas, river by the sea. This is what this means. So let's have no foolishness about this. Yeah. My wife is saying, "Oh no, I'll check." So we're at 1.5 hours. So I mean, that's the. I look at the Antioch Declaration. I'm saying, what's going on here? Why is this a big? Okay. Because why? Because we can't tack on the right. Because we can't criticize people like this. I mean, how is what the Antioch group is doing from the point of view of Christianity different than what academic agent did by showing that the Nazis and these werewolf, these idiots are idiots because they're bad social science. They're bad evolutionary science. In other words, there's no difference. I mean, it's the question here is the truth of Scripture. In other words, the Doug Wilson is and the Antioch situation is taking Scripture. It's not Mr. McIntyre's position. Oh, they're caving into the liberals, man. You criticize the young right. You kind of, and you talk about, you can't let them. You slap them because of their hate. Their Jewphobia, the Jewish question. I mean, there's legitimate Christian questions about Jews. Let's say this. There are. It all depends how you approach it. If it becomes something so that it becomes something, and actually something that can be a personal experience. This is a danger. You can have a personal experience of some group or some people who treated you badly. Does this mean that everyone in that group is going to treat you badly? You can't generalize from one case. One case makes a bad generalization. So I had a good friend, a very good friend who I became friends with, who went crazy because of anti-Semitism. Why? Because he was a Korean. He went to Brown University and he was studying he wanted to study the Old Testament and Jewish studies. He wanted to study. He was very much interested in the early kingdom. He had he had this prestigious fellowship to go to Israel. But he was, again, his own experience as being a minority, a Korean minority, in a community that could be persecuted, then brought over him to see the same kind of feelings he had brought over when he saw how Palestinians and Arabs were treated in the Jewish areas, of Israel. And therefore, he attributed this to this way. In other words, this is the same thing. Can't I think in many ways, for Conway Wilson, it was the way the Jewish media moguls and remember the Jews played a very big role in black music. They were there. The Jewish community was right with the civil rights movement because they saw this as something similar. Remember, the Jews who survived the Holocaust saw that the civil right, the Jim Crow legislation and these things were similar to this anti-Semitism and this so therefore they shared a common goal to do this. But the problem then they treated them like they ended up treating the more advanced Jews treated the new Negroes as kind of resource-based sentiments. They became wealthy from them, and then they resent the Africans, the black actors and the black talent. Then started to say, "How come they're making millions and I'm not, or they're making more money than me?" Right? In other words, then they see the things and they see the behavior and they see how certain the talent was taking advantage of. In other words, the management and the management teams were taking advantage of the young talent. This creates resentment. Is this true? Is this an aspect of truth? Yes. Did these people abuse their relationship? Did these Jewish entrepreneurs and people abuse their relationship? Yeah, some cases they did, some cases they didn't. You have to look at the case individual basis. But again, this is an experience, right? You have to understand this experience. This is a valid experience. So what leads him? He generalizes. They're all doing this. They're all bad. I'm a Christian. I want to be Christian. The problem is, what is how Christ would respond? I think this was the strength of Doug Wilson's position, and Wilson's anger towards some of these young kids who says, "Listen, why are you okay? Yeah, we can condemn the bad Jew, but do you pray for him? Do you pray for your enemy?" I mean, you have to understand, the friend-enemy thing is not about wanting them to go to hell. It's that, okay, my political enemy is my political enemy. I want to just defeat them. I want to destroy them. This is Schmitting position. Schmitt makes a very important key distinction between the political enemy and the personal enemy. And I would even argue that how Christ speaks of the enemy is not as the politicos, but as the personal enemy in that sense. That you forgive them. You need to forgive them. You need to forgive your enemies. This is not true. Forgiving them does not mean that you ignore their bad behavior. You're gonna if you have a bully. Actually, even Elon Musk in an interview with Jordan Peterson did it perfectly. And I think this has been wonderful. Elon's position here is actually, and Jordan Peterson's doing on this thing. I mean, I have problems with Peterson in many ways. But on this issue, he was right. That Elon said this line. Okay, yeah, you have to forgive. You have to forgive. That's true. You have to. That's the problem of the woke thing. There's no forgiveness. The woke offers no forgiveness, no atonement, no ability to right. But you still have to poke the bully in the face. And actually, maybe that is the way only after being poked in, turning the other cheek is not about not punching the bully in the face. It's about not seeking what? Vengeance. I'm not saying you don't defend yourself. You don't fight to protect yourself. It is about what? It's about not seeking vengeance. God gets to judge what is punishment, what is right, not you. You don't get vengeance. You get to do justice to a certain degree. You get to do what is right and what is necessary. But you don't get to be, and you shouldn't hate. You must forgive. This is the thing about this. You must not hate. It destroys you. It eats you. And what happens, this is the problem with many of these people. Their resentment and their treatment by these group of people, these either Jews or any group that does this, you get resentment towards them, and then you take what was an individual thing and then associate to the group, and it festers and it gets larger, and then you feel more. If you get more persecuted, then it's because of them, and then it becomes hatred. And this is this is how I would respond to that. And we're already an hour and a half into this, and I want to finish up on this last thing that he said. He talked about some interesting information has emerged this week about Keir Starmer's activities, human rights lawyer, defending a range of Islamicists. Yes, that's true. It would seem like to serve a practical case study for some ideas of Minot and Gushat put forward in their place of human rights shaping modern politics. And I think that's right. This is in fact, this is this book. To understand what's going on in England and the way human rights and the rule of law has been warped to destroy the old conception of law, is Tom. To understand what shaping the current this book, Tom Bingham's. He's the former justice of the court. This explains. This was an original lecture at Cambridge that then becomes a book that explains how the rule of law does not mean the rule of law. Democracy means the rule of minorities, not the rule of the majority. This is something Starkey has been talking about this, and I think Starkey's discussion about what's going on about this is essential to people doing this. Therefore, to understand, watch David Starkey's speech about stuff about Starmer has been absolutely the thing about this. And I think this is right. This is the idea of Minot and Gushat's warning about human rights, how this is a secularized conception that destroys law. It destroys real rights in that sense. It's the rule of the minority against the majority. It is the rule of the transnational versus the national over the national, right? And therefore the rise of the global world versus the particular world. It's this is the everywheres versus the somewheres. Here and there is a warning of a French sociologist called Florence Blacker-Burgod, who had spent most of her career studying the Firqa al-Muslimun and their influence building activities in the French state. That Britain is even more at risk to this type of thing. So yeah, she's right. It's England. In other words, the Muslims are much more strength. In fact, this last election, the Muslim communities had really took control of a number of labor seats, and therefore they could form a very big political power. And that the police have really institutionally influenced this. And you can see this why two-tier policing in England is shaped by the influence of the Muslim building networks inside the British state, in this sense. Then it says, is at risk of this. And this is partly in light of the new proposed Islamic, exactly, but this is the whole problem. I think this is the destruction of this is really the fundamental destruction of the purely political, the nature of the structure of political structures. Starmer, this is the end of, this is the rule, this is the fear of what the idea of the global world, where it's run by empire, that is run by these international norms, run by a new elite, who is going to have nothing in common with the local people and local national peoples. And that's this is right, but there are you have to see this in light. That's a different issue, and this is quite far from my discussion of Antioch. So please forgive me about that. I just want to bring. I promised I would talk the two posts by Corlitz today, James. I hope you guys like this. Please, I see 5 people liked it, and I was surprised. Yay! Please like it if you still like it and watching. Please like it if you're watching it and like it. Please hit the like button and the thing. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Encourage people to subscribe. If you're not you want to help me do this, you can go buy one of my books. You can buy my paper. My paper. Okay, the paperback is going to be problematic. I mean, if you got to do the my Aristotle's notebook is great. That's good. My LSU book is okay. There's going to be a hard problem getting my copies of my Polish, my political sciences regime, because I think they're out of print. I'm going to have to ask them, are they going to reissue the printing? Are they going to do it again, or what? Maybe I have to go find a new publisher. What else? Oh, the other thing is, you can subscribe. You can be a Patreon on Patreon or subscribe, sir, if you want to. It helps. Every little bit help. As I said, the books you can do it, or you can buy my new by Lulu or Amazon. My little ebook on the centrality of the polis in ancient political. So the polis as the ancient form of the political. This is going to be part of my. I think this is a good little book. I hope that people will read it because it's a good little introduction to the question of the ancient form. And then I'm going to talk about something about the modern form, and I've talked about modern form about other places. And I hope that's it. Now this is it. This is I'm at 40. We're over time today. Next week we'll see how you're doing. That's it. So take care. Have a good weekend. Ta-ta. Bye-bye. Have a good one. See you later.